I blew a $2,000 account in my first week of trading. It was probably the best thing that could have happened for my trading career. If you're new to day trading and you're terrified of losing money, this video could save you thousands of dollars. In this video, I'm going to share the lessons that I learned to go from a reckless trader to someone who's consistently profitable. I'll share the mindset shift and then give you some tips and tricks as well. So let's get into the story of where I lost a bunch of money. I was really interested in day trading. I went online, I watched some YouTube videos, I read a bunch of blog posts, I found some basic strategies, I back tested those strategies, I did a little bit of paper trading, maybe for like a week or two, nothing crazy. And I thought, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's put some real skin in the game, let's do this. So I opened an account with about $2,000, which at the time was an amount of money that, like, you know, it's a good amount of money, but you know, I could certainly blow it and then still pay my rent. So that at least I did do right. So I opened my account and I'm like, all right, let's do this to the moon. So I opened my laptop on Monday. I start, you know, getting on the charts, doing my thing, and I see a setup that looks great. I'm super excited about it. It's matching exactly the strategy that I found in some YouTube video and back tested. I'm psyched about it. And I think to myself, this is so good. This is perfect. But the problem, at least in my head, was I was like, if I follow this 1 to 2% rule, I can only risk 20 to 40 bucks on this trade. And this looks so good. And I was like, I just want to blow up my account. Like I want to go to the moon, right? Let's do this. So I say to myself, let's just like jump it up a little bit, right? Like, what if I risked like $200, which is 10% of that account? And obviously you can see where this story goes. The trade did not go in my direction, which honestly, like, it's gonna happen. Even great setups are not gonna work all the time. It is what it is. I'm not even sure it was actually a bad trade to be in. So the first day I lose like 200 bucks and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cool my jets. So I did close my laptop the first day. I think I was on the charts for like 30 minutes and I was like, all right, I gotta regroup. So the next day comes and I get on the charts again and I see another, what I think is a great setup. And I'm like, awesome. But you know, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? It would be great if I could just make back that money from Monday. I'd be back to where I started. This is a great setup. Easy peasy, let's do it. So of course, instead of risking 20 or 40 bucks, I just had to risk 400 to make back the money from Monday and then, you know, keep on going to the moon, right? Of course, this trade also does not go in my direction. So now I'm down like $600 in 2 days. And now I'm kind of frustrated, you know? I was really confident going into this. I always thought of myself as a really logical guy. And here I am down like 600 bucks in 2 days. But I kept thinking to myself, if I just stick to this setup, like I know this setup works, I've back tested it, like, you know, I'm gonna make this money back. I was still pretty confident. Had I known then what I know now, I would have told you that like what I was doing was I was eventually revenge trading. I was trying to find more and more setups to make this money back when really the setups just weren't there. So this snowball keeps going and I blow the account in like a week. There's no money left. I think I did some news trading and the account was gone. So that's the story of how I blew $2,000 in a week. To some degree, you can just call this market tuition. It's probably going to happen to you to some degree at some point. But my goal in this video is to hopefully make you pay less market tuition, or maybe you can just get a free ride and you don't pay any. That'd be great. If this sounds familiar to you, maybe you've blown some accounts, keep watching because I was able to turn this around really effectively and I have some really good tips and tricks for you. So after I had this really crappy week, I really had to go back and regroup. One, because I had no money, and two, because I really wanted to figure this out. I wanted to figure out why this was so hard for me. So the next few weeks, I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of interviews with traders. I watched a lot of these trading psychology videos. I actually watched a lot of videos with professional gamblers, poker players, people who make their money by taking risk. What I found is that the people who were really good at this were really emotionally level. In poker, they call it going on tilt. In day trading, it's called revenge trading. But this idea of like, I need to make back what I just lost is really the killer in anything that is to some degree risk-based, right? And what we need to do is eliminate that as much as possible from our day-to-day. If you can't eliminate this emotional side of your trading, you're never going to be consistently profitable. Trying to get even is the fastest way to blow your account. But I think what was really powerful for me was once you realize what's happening, once you understand this cycle that forms and causes you to revenge trade and to risk too much, then you can break it. And once you've broken this cycle of revenge trading, you'll have hopefully conquered the hardest problem in profitable risk taking. Whether that's as a day trader, a poker player, whatever your niche is, acting emotionally and not having a system is going to make you fail long term. But ultimately, none of this would have happened if I had just stuck to the 1% rule. If I had just said, the money in my account is what I have, I'm going to risk 1% per trade and no more, I would have been fine. I could have actually done a lot of revenge trading and still had room. The problem was when I wanted to 10x this account. That's not going to work. And if it does work, it's not going to work consistently long term. In my original example, I had about $2,000. If I had actually risked $20 each trade, I could have lost 10 trades in a row and only been down $200. I lost more than that in the very first trade I took. I think the key part here to understand why the 1% rule is so valuable is it's this real psychological trick. If a trade doesn't go your way, and there are plenty of trades that are not going to go your way, you have to lose an amount of money that you really don't care about. Whether that's $5 or $20 or $1,000 for you, it should be an amount of money that you really don't even notice. And psychologically, that makes it so much easier to deal with trades that don't go your way. The thing is, this is not glamorous. It's not going to make you rich overnight. It's not going to get you a Lamborghini. It is not going to enable you to quit your job in the next 2 weeks. What it will do is provide you a way to be consistently profitable over the long term and build your earnings and your account over time. And the other part of this is it's going to keep you in the game long enough to actually learn how to do this, to learn how to trade. Trading is a skill like any other. The idea that you're going to start and automatically be great at it is crazy. There is no other profession where you would think to yourself, I'm going to learn this in 2 weeks and then be great. If you said that to almost anybody in any profession, they would tell you that you're wildly underestimating how difficult this is. So why would it be any different in trading? So back to the 1% rule. When your loss is tiny, your emotional response is tiny. I know this sounds kind of silly, but I promise you, just try it. If you've been blowing up accounts, you might be really surprised how well this works. So now I have some real tips and tricks to make this more actionable. These are the concrete things I've started doing that have helped me manage my risk. The first one that I don't really hear anybody talk about is when you're backtesting your strategy, you should figure out about how often you should expect it to happen. And I just mean this as a ballpark figure. If you're swing trading, are you really gonna see a setup every day? Probably not. Maybe you'll see a setup, I don't know, once a week, twice a month, whatever it is. If you have more of a scalping strategy, maybe you'll see it once a day, a few times a week, maybe a few times a day, whatever it is. But my point being, if you understand about how often you should expect to see your setup, it makes you much pickier in every setup. For example, the strategy that I mostly trade is a daily scalping strategy. I know that I'm never going to trade more than once a day. I trade from about 9:40 in the morning to about 10 a.m. I have a really narrow window when I know volatility is going to happen, and that's the only time I'm looking for trades. I know the setup that I'm looking for happens maybe 2 to 4 times a week, so I know it's not going to happen every day, but I should be looking for it. All that to say, if I was looking at doing my second or third trade of the day, or my 5th trade of the week, I would really have to ask myself, is this a good setup? Is this the setup that I want? In my scenario, the answer is probably no, and I'm probably trading from a poor emotional state. The other tip I have that worked really well for me is going to a very time-based strategy. When I started trading, I was trading Forex. And I'm not saying you shouldn't trade Forex, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but the problem, for me at least, was with Forex, there's no real open time every day because it's a 24-hour market. You have the London session, you have the New York session, you know about when things are going to happen, but there's not an exact time, as opposed to what I've moved to now, where I'm trading NASDAQ futures. But because any stock index is going to be affected so strongly by the stock market open at 9:30, I really know that that's exactly when I need to be watching the charts. My setup is perfectly tailored for the stock market open. And a lot of people trade this way. Most stock traders are done trading by 11 o'clock in the morning. And there's a reason for that. They know when volatility happens, and they know if they're trading outside of those hours, they're less likely to be successful. It's what I found to be true for myself too. I know that I have limited mental energy to make decisions outside of about 30 minutes. It's totally possible that I'm weak and I should work on that, but this has worked really well for me. The next thing I started getting really good about was setting my stop loss before I enter. And then I'm really strict about it. My stop loss is what I know I'm okay with losing and not caring about. It's about 1% of my account. In the past, I would move the stop loss and I'd be like, oh, I think I just need a little bit more room up or down. And then I would just lose more money. So understand what your strategy is, understand where your stop loss should be, and keep it there. If the trade doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way. That's okay. But don't turn a small loss into a medium or a big loss. And finally, set a really strict daily loss limit. For me, I know I'm in one trade a day. That's it. So the most I can lose is 1%. I'm okay with that, and it's easy for me to stay motivated that way. So here are your steps. Calculate your risk and don't risk more than about 1% of your account. Set your stop loss before you enter the trade. Know your setup frequency. Know before you get into a trade how often you should expect your setup to happen. If you're seeing it more than you expect, you're probably trying to make your setup appear when it's not really there. Consider condensing your trading hours. Most people, the longer they look at the charts, the more likely they are to get into a trade. If you move to a strategy where you only need to look at the charts for 30 minutes to an hour a day, you're much less likely to get into trades that you shouldn't be in. And finally, set a strict daily loss limit. Tell yourself, no matter what, if I lose X amount, I'm done for the day. I'm gonna shut my laptop, I'm gonna do something else. And remind yourself that not taking any more trades that day doesn't lose you money, but you're probably not in a good emotional state. Understand that you are really unlikely to make back your losses that day. It's like I said earlier, if you're trading with proper risk management, you are going to have smaller wins. You're going to have smaller position sizes, and you're also going to have smaller and more manageable losses. Especially with the rise of prop firms, you can find ways to leverage a lot of capital eventually. So learning a proper risk management strategy is going to get you a lot further than you think. It's not going to turn $1,000 into 10 grand in a month, but you'll still be trading in a year when everyone else has blown their account. I look back to blowing my first account, and it really taught me that in trading and often in life in general, you have to play better defense than your offense. If you can't keep the capital you don't have it in the future to leverage and make more money. So has this happened to you? Have you blown accounts? Do you have a really high risk strategy? What's the biggest account you've blown? I'd love to hear about how you blew your accounts. It's happened to almost every trader I know. But if you're just starting out, maybe this can save you a lot of money. Or at least maybe if you don't blow a couple grand, you blow a couple $100. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more, like the video and comment about what you enjoyed and what you'd like to hear me talk about next. If you didn't like it, I'll keep trying. Either way, my name's Andrew and I'll see you around.